Welcome to Chapter 8. Your text chapter is an excellent resource for understanding assessment terminology from a statistical point of view. If you hadn't had a stats course or haven't had one in a while, it would do you well to scan the chapter. It has great information about NCEs. It'll go through and talk to you about the bell curve. It'll help you understand percentile points and rank and grade equivalency. So if you need some assistance with that terminology in terms of your job, it would be worthwhile for you to scan through the chapter, especially if you deal with TVAS or TVOS, however you choose to say it, data. But for us, we are going to do a brief overview of data in terms of a practical point of view and the way that you need to think about it as an instructional leader and what you need to make sure that your faculty needs to know. Data should paint a picture that begins with a conversation. So learning and teaching have to be driven by data. We've seen this in our chapters over and over again, and it's important for an instructional leader to make sure that teachers understand how to communicate that data with students and with the parents, but also be able to communicate that data to themselves. They have to be able to take that data and in that picture that it creates of what the child is capable of doing, what the child has done, what the child will do, what the child is currently doing, and to be able to have that conversation with the student and say, okay, this is where you started, this is what level of achievement you are at, and we need to either maintain that or we need to grow. We certainly don't want to go back in our achievement and in our growth. We want to move forward. We want to outpace or maintain. We do not want to fall behind. So outpace or maintain, not fall behind. So using multiple data points brings a great deal of color to the picture. Unfortunately, excuse me, many times we know where the student begins at the end of the year, and we wait till at the end of the last year, and so then we wait to the end of the following year. So if you're talking 3rd to 4th grade, we know what they did at the end of 3rd grade, and we know what they did at the end of 4th grade, and we're looking at that growth instead of making sure that there are multiple data points throughout the year in order to track the child's learning. Knowing what a student can do at the beginning of the year allows the teacher a starting point for the picture. Pre- and post-assessing by standards or chapters or any form of content that the teacher is going to use really gives the teacher a roadmap for successful teaching and learning. Without the use of data, it's very difficult for a teacher to know where to go with the class or with individual students or with groups of students. Informal checks like FIST to 5 provide the teacher knowledge of who is on the road to success and who needs some more direction. The whole brain teaching, like you saw in the wrap-up in the last chapter, lets us know who is where in the spectrum of learning. It also gives us the ability to have peer-to-peer assessment, which is important. There are 4 types of data that are discussed here, and really these could be blended into 3. There are 3 types of data that we really need to be concerned with as instructional leaders. They're demographical, which is race, gender, socioeconomic. This is your non-academic data. This is very important because it does count when they are tallying up their points at the end. Certain students weigh more than other students do based on their background, based on their demographics. And it's important for us as instructional leaders to know who is in our school and to understand that not just for assessment reasons, but we also read in our chapter, we know it's important for cultural reasons as well. Perception is another type of data that's extremely important. That's surveys and evaluations. It's the values and beliefs, the attitudes. But perception is reality. So if a survey is given about a school and it comes back negative, even though you don't believe it is truly negative and that people feel that way about your school, perception is reality, and you have to adjust to that and do something about it. And then the last one really is just assessment, which is your standardized test, your EOCs, your SAT-10, what was TCAP, now is TN Ready. So those are the ones that we really are looking at your school processes as your SIP, your school improvement plan, and how the programs go. As far as assessment, school, and student learning, you typically use demographics, perception, standardized tests as what you put into how your process is going to go. So, using and analyzing different multiple data points brings clarity to your picture, and we need to make sure that our students understand achievement versus growth or progress. So, when you see the word progress there, that can also be growth. Achievements is performance at a single point in time, and it relates to family background. So, what happens to a child and his background does affect how he or she will achieve, especially experiences that they have or have not been afforded. It compares student performance to a standard or a norm, and this is critical to a student's post-secondary opportunities. So where they're headed for their vocational choices is affected by achievement. Growth or progress measures a student's progress between 2 points in time, and it's not related to the student's background. So this is what goes on in our classrooms. It compares a student performance to their own prior performance. So it's that data that we see over a 4 or 5 year time span, benchmark in third grade, and then looking at it from third to fourth and fourth to fifth and so on. And it is critical to the academic success of a student. It's important for us to see achievement as a snapshot of academic performance, and progress is actually the photo album of academic performance. And in saying that, it means that student growth is really the most important. Regardless of how they enter, as far as their achievement level is concerned, they have to at least maintain that achievement level. So again, it's that maintain or outpace, not fall behind. As instructional leaders, to conclude, we need to assist the teacher in shifting the lens within the classroom. We need to assess and evaluate the students are doing during the lesson instead of focusing on what the teacher is doing. We're seeing that in our team evaluation. If we want the 4s and the 5s, then it will be about student-centered learning. What are the students doing? How do you look at the descriptors, and how do you know what a student is going to do based on those descriptors in our team evaluation? There should be a preponderance of evidence that shows that the student is engaged in the learning process and is being assessed in multiple facets that truly paint the picture of growth. So that's a brief overview of what assessing student learning should really be like. For your assignment for this chapter, there's an article that you're going to read. It's a very good article. It's short, so don't worry. It's not going to take you lengths of time to do. I tried to make sure that we when we have an assignment the week before that it's quite in depth, that we spend a couple of weeks not having as many different places to go when you hit the course content folders. And 2 weeks ago with your Twitter, you had quite a bit of information to explore and learn from. Your article comes from a principals organization, and it's located down here in this folder, which of course will move up soon, hopefully above your chapter PowerPoint. And it's just simply an article review. There's really no question attached to it at the end. When you go through and read the article, and based on what you heard in the PowerPoint here, find 5 points that you feel are reflective of assessment and that data should enrich the picture of education, and then you're simply to write your reflection for it. So I look forward to reading what you write, and I hope you have a wonderful week.